Yo, what's good, ghouls and ghoulettes? It is your boy DEADMANVINCE back with yet another JJK Phantom Parade video. Today we are going to be talking about the new game mode, Curse Sweeping Battle, and I'm going to start to show you guys some teams that you could possibly work on for this game mode. I'll show you the team that I'm working on, and then I'll even go over some units that I was considering using in the first place, but as my options kind of like grew, I kind of switched out my roster, and then I'll kind of explain reasons why I'm using the characters that I'm using, because today we're going to be talking about our green team, and we can use that team in the hidden inventory event because the type of vintage is green actually, so I'll kind of use that event as kind of like a test for the team in the video. Basically in Curse Sweeping Battle, we have these 4 different fights, and each one of these different fights is a different color, as you can see. So there is a color that is type advantage in each one of these fights, and as you go into the fight, you can farm the material for your characters. So I don't think that it's green is the type that's strong here. I think that it's saying that the boss is green, so maybe like red is the type that's strong in here, right? So green will be stronger in one of these stages. When you go into this event, there is a debuff that your team gets if you do not have characters of the color. So you do not have to run characters that are within the mono color, but if you do, I think it's more beneficial, because if you run characters outside of the color that the stage requires, they will take 60% more damage. That is a passive debuff that you can see in the boss's kind of like kit whenever you're going into one of these stages. When this unlocks, you get all of these characters right here who get buffs to their kind of like kit, to their actual like kit. Like they actually get buffs to their skills, to their stats, but every character in the game is going to get access to the hidden potential system. These characters are specifically going to get full access to the hidden potential system, meaning that they'll get the buffs to their skills. But even if you look at Sukuna, as soon as the hidden potential system dropped in the Japanese version, he had access to it. He just does not have access to his skills being buffed because he does not need that yet. He's a brand new unit and he's like the best DPS in the game. But these older characters definitely need it, and it definitely makes some of them very, very viable options. This here is the hidden potential system that I'm kind of talking about here. Like you can see Yuji has skills here that he can upgrade. That's his ultimate skill right there, and that's his skill 3 right there, if you can see. But then you can see he has some extra like buff skills, which sometimes it can be an auto skill, or it can just buff a buff that he has on one of his skills. But either way, everybody's hidden potential system does not look the same, but the characters that they specify right here have the full access, just like Yuji does, because Yuji's right here, of course. So some of these characters become a lot more formidable, and today we're going to be going over the green team that I have decided to work on, and give my reasonings as to why I've chosen the characters that I've chosen, and yeah, we'll just kind of go from there, and we'll go through each one of the teams. We're starting with the green team also, because that is the team that I actually just have all the characters for already that I plan to use for that team, so I can go ahead and start maximizing them right now. Guys, if you think this team is cracked, you can definitely go down below and leave a like and a subscribe. But as you can see earlier in the video, I had all the tabs open for all these characters, so I just wanted to give you guys a representation of the team here first, and then we'll go back to the wiki and we'll break down each one of the characters, and then we'll talk about why we chose each one of the characters. But we have Momo here, obviously. She is an interferer, as the game would call her, but she's also a really good buffer, if you guys know. Then we have Geto here, because he's a really good debuffer, and I didn't plan to summon for him. Well, I didn't really do that many summons for him, but I'll explain that in a second. We have green Yuji here, who is, you know, one of the original characters in the game, and as we just saw, he is one of the characters. He's literally the character they use to display the fact that you now have a hidden potential system. So we know that he already has buffs from the hidden potential system as soon as it drops, so he's going to be one of the characters that you take care of. Hollow Gojo is Hollow Purple Gojo. He is a really crazy damage dealer. I got really lucky and got him 2 duped whenever I summoned for him, and also he's going to be on the standard banner update, so you will be able to easily summon for more copies of him, and even you'll be able to buy dupes of him later on if you can save up enough character crystals. And then we have Mahito here, because Mahito is a free-to-play character, but he is a really good free-to-play character, and I have not even bought Hanami on this account yet, because I would rather have Mahito 2-star, because I know Mahito's going to end up being a lot more useful for me in the long run than Hanami would have been. So first, let's explain Geto. Is this an explanation or more of a flex? Let me know down below. As you can see here, it says I've done 27 summons, right, on Geto's banner. So what happened is they gave me 10 free tickets on Geto's banner as they gave everybody, right? I did the first summon, didn't really get anything. That's okay. I didn't really care. Didn't really give that much thought about putting Geto on the team at first. Then I did 7 single summons because they were casually just throwing out tickets, just kind of like day by day if you're doing missions here and there, because, you know, this is a big event, so it's going on for a really long time. Then I finally finished up my Gojo summons, and I summoned Gojo, or I'm not even gonna spoil it, but I got all the way to pity on Gojo, right? And you guys can go check out that video where I summoned for Gojo. But literally after that, I still had 3,000 cubes left over, and I was like, you know what? If I summon on Geto's banner right now, I know I'll get him. I just had a feeling, and I went, and I did the summon, and I got Geto in the one summon. So that's why I'm at 27. So now let's go over to the wiki and explain kind of why I chose the characters that I chose. So first up we have Momo. She's an obstructor, but as we know, she has a really good buff for her skill 2. But her skill 1 is going to be deals 150.4% range jutsu damage to select the enemy. So honestly, she's not going to do that much damage. Of course, that's not what her purpose is. But I really do think about the fact that if you really do just get character skills to level 10, like even though they're not going to be doing the most damage in the world, their chip damage is actually going to be worth something. Because a lot of the time, if you don't level up this skill, the damage is going to be kind of like insignificant. But once you get to level 10, you know, maybe you'll see a little bit of something. So even the skills that just deal damage, they're going to get level 10 as well. Even though you may not use those skills all the time on a character. Sometimes you're in a position where you have to use those skills. So, you know, it doesn't hurt. Obviously, the skill you want to prioritize is her skill 2 first, though, because this skill at level 10 increases all allies' damage by 68.7% for 2 turns, 1 time. So you cannot stack it, but the buff does last for 2 turns, so you could use it, and then you could not use it for 1 turn, and it'd still be there for the next turn. And she grants herself evasion whenever she uses the skill as well, so that's also very good. Then, her skill 3 has an 86% chance to stun all the enemies. It's not an attack or anything, it's strictly a debuff, but still, 86% chance to stun enemies is actually pretty good. Now, I know in the past I've said that I want at least a 100% stun chance at the bare minimum, because even over 100%, there's not a guarantee to stun somehow. But this is different because it's on all the enemies. So 86% chance to stun all the enemies is not bad, considering that sometimes you have a room with 4 enemies. And she still gives herself evasion on the skill as well. So this works really nicely because she constantly gives herself a defensive mechanic. There is no defense in the game, so defensive mechanics are actually really overpowered. Damage reduction, crit resist, evasion, you know, all these things are really busted. Counterattacks. Her skill 3, her ultimate, deals 583.6% range jutsu damage to all enemies. Again, decent chip damage in combo with another unit's ultimate, because her combo ultimate effect increases her own damage and combo allies break damage by 10% for 2 turns. So just helping to build that damage up. And she has a chance to stun all enemies by 79.6%. Or she has a 79.6% chance, I said that weird, to stun all enemies. And she grants herself evasion on her ultimate as well. So constantly giving herself evasion, giving allies extra break damage, and 10% is just at no dupes, but you know she's an SR, so you can get her to 5 dupes pretty easily. If you're summoning for characters you should be summoning for, there's a high chance for summoning Momo in those summons as well. Yeah, but she has a really solid kit for debuffing and buffing your team, which is good because sometimes you cannot debuff the enemy, so sometimes these stuns aren't going to go off, but at least she's still giving herself evasion in that, and she still can buff your team. So even these skills are not completely useless when you can't debuff. And her passive is, at the start of each wave, increases 1 random enemy's damage received by 6.7%. If you're in a boss room, you're literally just doing that to the boss. So not bad. And it's for 2 turns as well. So it gives you 2 turns to build up if you're not fully built up by the time you get to the boss room. But typically you're fully built up by the time you get to the boss room. You can like drop an ultimate like first turn if you wanted to. So not bad. Next character that we had is Geto. So for my red team, I'll be transparent. I'm obviously using like a combo of Yaga and Nanami because they're just 2 buffers that are just really insane and they work really well, right? But on green, I felt like I could go with a nice combo of like buffing the damage with Momo and then just using Geto as a debuffer, because Geto still does good damage even though he is a debuffer, and I just like the way that his skills work. He has a characteristic at the start of each turn, recovers own cursed energy by 20. So, you know, I love characters who can give themselves cursed energy, give your team or give themselves cursed energy. Like, Kaito is an incredible unit, but I will take Geto just giving himself a lot of cursed energy over Kaito because that just allows me to spam really stupid skills more and more. But Geto also gets a increase in taijutsu and jujutsu damage whenever he performs a critical hit. So his skill 1. Deals melee combined damage equal to 150.4 taijutsu and 90.2 jujutsu to the selected enemy in 2 hits. If your own cursed energy is 30 or above, increases own critical hit rate by 20% one time. And if your own cursed energy is 40 or above, increases own damage by 20% one time. The higher your cursed energy is, the greater the damage boost up to 50%. So let's see. He starts out at 30 cursed energy. If you get him to 2 dupes, he starts out at 40 cursed energy. At the start of each turn, he gives himself 20 cursed energy. So at the start of the first turn, would he be at 60 cursed energy? Does that count? Is he just giving himself 20 cursed energy on the first turn? Is that 60 cursed energy first turn? So if you use the skill 1 on first turn, is he giving himself crit rate buff? Well, it doesn't even matter because even if he just starts at 40, he still gets this. So it doesn't matter if he gets the extra 20 cursed energy or not. So that's really busted if you get him 2 dupes. But even if you don't have him 2 dupes, I think that 20%, that extra 20 cursed energy procs at the start. So you would have this anyway. So this skill should be hitting like decently hard from the start. His skill 2 deals range combined damage equal to 83.3 taijutsu and 216.5% jujutsu to the selected enemy. Increases the selected enemy's jujutsu damage received by 18% for 4 turns. If his own cursed energy is 35 or above, increases the selected enemy's jujutsu damage received by 19.9% for 4 turns for green enemies. So, or for green type attacks. So, I believe this would be 18% by itself, and then 19.9%, an additional 19.9% conditionally, which makes him a really good debuffer for mono green specifically, which is another reason why I kind of like summon for him. Plus, guys, I'm not going to tell you what to summon for, what to not summon for. You like the characters that you like, and Geto is an incredible character. At the end of the day, I understand that one big component of summoning for characters in the game is, do you like the character or not? And Geto is pretty cool. Popular, I'd even say. So I summon for him just because I don't know, dude. I can just call it sometimes, I guess. I called it in my Gojo summons, and I called it in the Geto summon, right? So it's whatever. But do as you wish. I'll show you the character that I was using or was going to use before I put Geto into the team. So you'll still have options there, and you'll possibly have a future option for future characters that come out. I don't know. Skill 3. Deals range combined damage equal to 366.5 taijutsu and 199.9% jujutsu to selected enemy. Increases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage received by 18%. And if your cursed energy is 30 or above, increases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage received by 19.9% for green type attacks. So again, another great reason why he's a good green debuffer. You can kind of like switch gears and decide which kind of like way you want to attack the enemy, because sometimes enemies are stronger against, or sometimes enemies are weaker against taijutsu, sometimes enemies are weaker against jujutsu. So with Geto, you can really fine tune your experience and figure out, okay, which skill do I need to be using? Not to mention, if you're actually using this skill right here, he gets 20 extra cursed energy at the start of each turn. So that means if you're using his skill 2, you're not actually ever going to lose cursed energy from doing that. And if you're using his skill 3, and it does give him 20 cursed energy on top of the 10 cursed energy you usually would get, then that means he wouldn't even run out of cursed energy using his skill 2. Kind of evil to think about. Anyway, his ultimate deals range combined damage equal to 916.3% taijutsu and 1099.5% jujutsu to selected enemy. Increases own break damage by 105.9% one time. Of course, that's going up with the skill. You don't get that at level 1. Increases own maximum curse energy by 40 for 4 turns, and then recovers own curse energy by 20. So his ultimate that you're building up to literally is a curse energy battery as well. And it increases his maximum cursed energy too, so you can just spam skills after that. And dude, he's just insane. He boosts himself and combo allies damage by 10% for 4 turns, and that's just that's at no dupes. So if you get dupes for him, it's gonna get even higher, of course. Then also his auto skill, absorption. When defeating an enemy, recovers own cursed energy by 10. The more enemies defeated at once, the greater the cursed energy recovered. Excludes certain cursed spirits and enemies. So all around, giving himself extra curse energy, a curse energy battery. All of his skills are highly useful, good debuffs. The only caveat is if you can't really debuff the boss, but I'd say that this still works because you can still increase his own break damage with this at the very least, and he can still increase his own maximum curse energy, and these skills still do pretty solid damage as well. Just seen it in videos, and I've also used him at least like once or twice now that I have him, right? And this skill right here is going to be doing solid damage as well. And the higher you boost your cursed energy, the easier it's going to be for you to get this extra 50% damage boost with his skill 1. So I think that Geto is actually a very excellent choice. And if you summon for him, I couldn't even blame you, because we should have some time before you should really need to summon for a character, you know. So now it's kind of like you can do whatever you want. Like, it's a celebration. You can kind of get loose with it, I feel like, and get who you want to get. Next character is an all-time classic, the man, the myth, the legend, Black Flash Yuji. He is a character that you can get day 1 in the game in -5 dupes. So obviously I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that. All of his skills are almost level 10. And also he got an update, and he's one of the first characters that gets the hidden potential update as well. So we'll go ahead and take a look. So he can get a Black Flash originally because, you know, it's Yuji. But his characteristic is he's able to attack souls, he's resistant to poison and soul damage, and when Black Flash is performed, he increases his own Black Flash rate by 100% for 3 turns. So he's guaranteed to get Black Flash for 3 turns if he gets a Black Flash in the first place. And after his adjustment, it just gets moved to his auto skill. So he doesn't have a characteristic anymore, it's just an auto skill. His skill 1 used to deal 150% 0.4 taijutsu damage to a selected enemy. After the adjustment, it deals 190.0% taijutsu damage to a selected enemy, and he has a certain chance of performing a Black Flash. So they built in a Black Flash chance into it now, which makes it a lot better because, as we know, once you get the Black Flash, 100% chance to do a Black Flash. So once Yuji gets a Black Flash, you're just hitting consecutive Black Flashes. It just doesn't matter anymore, bro. Just get that first one and you're in the pocket. The skill 2 used to be increases own critical hit by 139.6% for 3 turns, and increases own Black Flash rate by 66.9% for 3 turns, which is stupid already, and then fills own ultimate gauge by 241.8%. It is unchanged. Okay, I was gonna say, because that's already busted. It only costs 15 curse energy as well, so it definitely is busted already. His skill 3 deals 344% taijutsu damage to the selected enemy in 4 hits, and decreases the selected enemy's critical hit resistance by 34.4%. This one changed, I believe. Yes. This one costs 25 curse energy now instead of 30, which is a very big difference. And he deals 430% taijutsu damage now instead of 366 it was, 344 to 430. Then he decreases the selected enemy's critical resistance by 51.6% instead of 31.4, I believe, and a certain chance of performing a Black Flash in the first and third hit because it's 4 hits. So in the move itself, he has higher chances to hit Black Flashes on specific hits. Evil works, dude. Evil works. Then in his SP Unleashed, it upgrades his move, and you just have to get his skill to level 10. That's how it works. So you have to unlock the skill on SP Unleashed, and then you also have to get the skill to level 10. That's why I'm working on these characters now, so the skill's already level 10. So really, all I have to worry about is getting the SP Unleashed, because I maintain my characters, keep my characters the max level that I need to whenever the new level cap comes out. Since Geto was kind of like just like a drop, you know, really spawned in on my account, I'm working on getting him to grade 11 right now, but I do have him grade 9 currently, I believe. But Yuji's skill 3 at SP Unleashed is deals 500% taijutsu damage to the enemy in 4 hits, decreases the selected enemy's critical resistance by 60% for 2 turns, increases own ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 15% for 3 turns, then chance of performing a Black Flash on the 4th hit medium, massively increases Black Flash damage, and unlockable when skill is level max. So the skill just gets a lot crazier, and you know, it already got its cost reduction after the adjustment in the first place. Then his ultimate also got a change, I believe, but yes, his ultimate did get a change. So his ultimate used to be 898.2% taijutsu damage to a selected enemy, and the first hit will become a Black Flash. Then, after the adjustment, deals 1200.9% taijutsu damage to the selected enemy. The first hit will become a Black Flash. The first hit increases the first hit's black flash damage, then increases the first and third hit's critical hit damage. Increases own and combos allies damage by 10% for 2 turns, and deals 94.4% taijutsu damage to select the enemy. Before adjustment, Sukuna's Vessel. At the start of battle, grants poison, soul resistance to self, and resistance to poison, resistance to instant death from soul. I'm sorry. Then, after the adjustment, the unthinkable happens. They gave this man zoned. So the first part is unchanged, where he has all the immunities and all that. But now, when Black Flash is performed, it increases his own Black Flash rate by 100% for 3 turns, and it cannot be stacked. Increases his own taijutsu damage by 30% for 3 turns, and that can be stacked. Recovers own cursed energy by 5. Zone Outbreak. SP Potential Unleashed. When Black Flash is performed, recovers own cursed energy by 10, inflicts zone status to self for 3 turns, cannot be stacked. Zone status. Increases own Black Flash rate by 100%, increases own taijutsu damage by 100%, increases own Black Flash damage by 50%. Yeah, this Yuji's absolutely grimy now. And he's a character that you can get from the start of the game. You can work on this man right now. It's kind of like it's the 10th anniversary on Dokkan right now. And they just super easy the STR Gogeta from the first anniversary. Of course I have that character. I've been playing the game forever. If you play the game from the start, you have this Yuji at some point in some capacity. And if you have this Yuji at least 2-star, GG to you, you know, because you're starting off with extra cursed energy. And this man has his own kind of like cursed energy regeneration in his kit now. So it's getting to a point where obviously Kaito is really good because he gives you extra cursed energy. But now it's getting to a point where characters are starting to have that for themselves. So yeah, this Yuji is insane after his buff. And literally, his buff comes with the new event, so it just makes sense to use him. You can instantly dump the materials into him. Next up, we have Hollow Purple Gojo. Y'all already know how he works. He leaves the field after 7 turns, or if he does his ultimate, he leaves the field. When a Black Flash is performed, increases his own critical hit rate. His skill 1 is monstrous, deals 421% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy. Critical hit chance, great. Decreases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage by 15% and decreases the selected enemy's jujutsu damage by 15%. So good debuff there. His skill 2 increases the selected enemy's damage received by 30% for 2 turns. Increases the selected enemy's damage by 10% type disadvantage for 1 turn. And increases his own damage by 70.1% for 2 turns. His skill 3. Let's start with you. Increases his own break damage by 100% 1 time. Deals 362.4 range jutsu damage to the selected enemy for 4 hits. Increases the selected enemy's damage by 15% for 1 turn. I'm sorry I'm kind of like speeding through this, but it's just like, you guys know what Hollow Purple Gojo does. He's just like a really evil debuffer. And all these skills, it's so stupid. He just does really good damage on all these skills anyway. So it doesn't really matter that he's a debuffer, really. You can use him as a DPS in the main sense. And basically, you want to use this skill before you drop his ultimate. And his ultimate is Hollow Purple. And like I said, once you do his ultimate, he leaves the field. But his ultimate deals nearly 2,000% jujutsu damage to all enemies and decreases all enemies' ultimate gauge by 2. Deals or increases own and combo allies' critical hit rate by 40% for 3 turns, which is ridiculous. 40% is stupid. Then deals 100% jujutsu damage to all enemies. And his auto skills at the start of battle grants strategic retreat status to self. Strategic retreat status. Once strategic retreat status expires, leave the field. Then limitless technique. At the start of battle, grants attack immunity to self. And this man gets, like, all these characters have hidden potential system buffs. But Yuji has full hidden potential system buffs where he can get his skills buffed up from it. But even still, these characters have hidden potential buffs, so you can buff them up on their stats anyway. Just keep that in mind as well. Mahito is the character that I'm putting in the 4th slot because in the event that Gojo doesn't kill the boss all the way, because the way that the event works is, as you go through the phases for the event, you literally, the damage carries over from phase to phase. There are specific phases where the damage doesn't carry over, but there are specific phases where the damage does carry over from the last phase, and I'm pretty sure you can just kind of like blast from like the 9th stage into the 10th stage of that event because it's 10 stages long. Right, so if Hollow Purple Gojo is stacked up and you get all the way through the first, the initial phases that don't transfer damage, you can get to the last 3 stages and just kind of like pop a Hollow Purple off at the end of that. Then Mahito can come in at the end if Gojo doesn't finish up the work, and Mahito can definitely finish off the work because Mahito has an instant kill mechanic, which is insane. Receives damage when targeted by reverse curse technique, able to attack souls, and weak to soul damage. Skill 1. Deals 200% range taijutsu damage to the enemy. If the enemy does not have a weakness to green type, changes the skill effect to deals 200% range taijutsu damage to selected enemy as a type that selected enemy would be weak to. Attacks without a type when selecting an enemy without a weakness. So I'm not gonna read the domain part. I'll go all throughout his skills regularly, and then I'll read the domain, and then we'll go back up to the domain parts. But yeah, this skill is pretty good because, you know, it deals damage in any type, whatever, according to whatever the enemy's weakness is, which is very like Mahito because he can literally just touch anybody and instant kill them. So very overpowered. Skill 2. Grants miniaturization status to self for 1 turn. Fills his own ultimate gauge by 270, and Mahito's kind of like whole mechanic is filling up his ultimate, getting his domain as fast as possible, popping it. Skill 3. Deals 601.6% melee jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. Depending on jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy. Some enemies excluded. Effectiveness, medium. So he has a medium chance to instant kill you on his skill 3 regularly. Then, his ultimate. Is his domain expansion, self-embodiment of perfection. Deals 1331.3 range jujutsu damage to selected enemy. Deals damage equal to 15% of all enemies' HP. Expands the domain for 4 turns while the domain is active. Grants guaranteed hit effect and attack immunity nullification to self. Decreases own damage received by 30%. Unable to fill on ultimate skill gauge when using a skill. Depending on jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy. Some enemies excluded. Effectiveness high. So inside of his domain, he has a high chance to just instantly kill the enemy. Depletes own curse energy after the domain deactivates. Unable to fill own ultimate skill gauge after domain deactivates for 2 turns. So his skill 1 once his domain is active. While domain is active, depending on the enemy's jujutsu and the remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy. So yeah, it just kind of takes away instead of doing this, I'm pretty sure it just does this instead, and then, or actually, it probably just does all of this, honestly. It probably still does type advantage damage. It does 200% range taijutsu damage, and it's just instant kill now. So literally all the same effects, but with the domain active. This was a little different. This one instead deals 336, because this skill actually transforms to a different skill altogether. Deals 336.8 melee taijutsu damage as a type that is selected enemy has a weakness to. Attacks with a type when selected enemy that has a weakness. Increases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage received by 20.2 or 20% for 2 turns. And depending on own jujutsu, the enemy's remaining HP, it can instantly kill the enemy. Some enemies excluded. Effectiveness high. Miniaturization status. Evades single target attacks. That's what miniaturization does when the skill is like regular. Skill 3. While the domain is active, changes the skill effect to cursed energy cost 20 instead of 45. Increases own jujutsu damage by 30% 1 time for 1 turn. Deals 676.8% melee jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. And depending on the enemy's HP, will kill the enemy instantly. And you can't stack his domain on his domain. That is like impossible. They make sure you can't do that. His auto skill. At the start of each turn, if own HP is 70% or below, and own curse energy is 40 or above, recovers own HP by 8%. The lower his 1 HP is, the greater the HP recovery, up to 16%. Inflicts damage cut to self. Decreases own damage received by 12%. The higher own curse energy is, the greater the damage received, up to 24%. So he has built-in damage reduction as well based off of his cursed energy. Yeah, but Mahito is a really good backline. You can kind of just like, once he comes in, you can definitely use him to finish up the enemies, definitely clean up the house, because that instant kill is no joke once you have the enemy's health really, really low. And you're definitely going to get the enemy's health low in the first place, working with Hollow Purple Gojo. But now I'm going to go over some characters that you can use as subs. So before I summoned for Geto, one character that I was considering using was going to be Yuji, because he still does have a mechanic, I believe, that boosts your cursed energy. Oh, yeah, no, unfortunate. He's still a really good buffer, though. Deals 105.1% range jujutsu damage to select the enemy. Increases the selected enemy's damage by 22.2% 1 time for 1 turn. So, good debuff right there. His skill 2. Decreases all allies Jujutsu damage received by 35.6% for 3 turns. That's really nice right there, actually. That's why Rare Inumaki is so good, because he has that really nice damage reduction. He also boosts your cursed energy gauge, but the damage reduction is like the main part of it, really. His skill 3 is going to be Defensive Wall. Grants allies nullification to the selected allies 3 turns 2 times. Increases the selected allies Jujutsu damage by 25.8% for 3 turns. So not only is this giving defense to a specific ally, but it also gives the ally a Jujutsu damage increase as well. Then his ultimate deals 578.9% range Jujutsu damage to a selected enemy, and he has a 159.2% chance to stun that enemy. So it's a really high stun chance, and with his combo ultimate, he can increases his allies' damage by 10%. He has no auto skills, but he's an SR character, so he is really easy to get copies of, so he's really free to work on. And, you know, even though he is a supporter, he has some really good debuffing in his kit. So that's an option that you can use. Obviously, he's not going to work to the full extent of like Geto, but even still, a good option. Next up, you guys probably have a copy of Nanami or something like that. If you don't have Mahito, which honestly Mahito's a free-to-play character, so I don't know how you wouldn't have Mahito unless you use your Phantom Metals for Hanami. If you're scrambling to kind of like work on characters by time the Curse Sweeping Battle comes out, which you shouldn't be because we have a lot of time, you should get Mahito. But if you don't, you can work on this Nanami because he actually gets buffs from the update. At the start of turn 9, increases own abilities. When Black Flash is performed, increases own Black Flash rate by 3 turns. And after the update, that is just moved to his auto skill. Okay, so Nanami has had 2 adjustments actually. He had the adjustment in the first place, and then he had an adjustment after the update because he had hidden potential updates like indirectly. But his skill 1 used to be, I like Nanami also because he has like even Jujutsu, anti-Jutsu damage. So I think he utilizes some pages a little better than other characters, and I think that's really cool. Deals melee combined damage equal to 75.2% Taijutsu and 75.2% Jujutsu to the selected enemy. After his adjustment on skill 1, it is unchanged. But after his adjustment, again on the update, it increases from 75.2 to 89.9 Taijutsu and 89.9 Jujutsu. So a little bit of a buff on his skill 1. His skill 2. Increases own critical hit rate by 50%. Increases own break damage by 50% for 4 turns. No, I'm sorry, 83.3%. Goodness. Yeah, no, that's overpowered because that's only 10. That only costs 10 energy. Another reason why I really like to put him in the back line is because if it does take you up to 9 turns and he comes in, he can just be instantly really crazy because of his overtime buff. After adjustment, his skill 1 was unchanged, but then after adjustment, his skill 2 is still unchanged, or his skill 2 was unchanged. But his skill 2 is still unchanged, which is unfortunate. Okay, skill 3. Deals melee combined damage equal to 211.12 Taijutsu and Jujutsu to select the enemy. After the adjustment, when critical hit or Black Flash is performed, increases the damage dealt. After adjustment, when in critical hit or Black Flash is performed, increases damage dealt further. So they just made him a crazier DPS, really. Skill or ultimate. Deals range combined damage equal to 477.6 Taijutsu to Jujutsu damage. See, I like that even. I like his even hybrid damage, like even down the middle split. I really like that. I think a Winter New Beginning, that Yuta page, the Yuta and Maki and Panda page, and Inumaki when it's snowing, I think that page will work really well with him. After the adjustment, increases, or when critical hit is performed, increases damage dealt. And then, okay. After adjustment, 638.4 Taijutsu and Jujutsu damage instead, and when a critical hit performed, increases damage dealt further. And then, after SP Potential Unleash, 800% Jujutsu and Taijutsu. Stops enemy action for 1 turn with a 30% chance. Increases all enemies' Taijutsu damage received by 30%. Is attacks effective, or it's effective for green type attacks. That's kind of crazy. And then his ultimate effect also, he gives critical hit rate and Black Flash rate on his combo effect, so that's really good too. He has zone, so anybody who can hit a Black Flash can just hit zone. Because yeah, I mean, I guess so. Maybe not Toto's, but Yuji, Nanami, Gojo's, like I guess they can all just hit zone. At the start of the 9th turn, recovers own cursed energy by 30, or from the start of battle, recovers own cursed energy by 30 Fills on ultimate gauge by 200. Increases on Jujutsu damage by 30% one time. Post adjustment. Unchanged. SP potential. Or hold on. Okay. Same thing. It doesn't say for one turn though, which is kind of wild. Zone outbreak. Increases own black flash rate by 200% for 4 turns. Oh my gosh. Recovers own cursed energy by 5, and then when black flash is performed. Critical hit enhancement. Increases own taijutsu by 30% for 4 turns. Increases own jujutsu damage by 30% for 4 turns. When black flash or critical hit is performed, 50% chance. SP potential. Critical hit enhancement. Increases on taijutsu damage by 30% for 5 turns. Goodness. Jujutsu damage 30%, 5 turns. Critical hit rate 20%, 5 turns. Black flash critical hit perform chance 80%. Oh my gosh, this Nanami is an animal. The black flashes are going to be absolutely insane. He's just gonna be getting pure damage off of black flashes alone. He's crazy. He's a lot to invest in, because you got to get these skills to maxed out to utilize this fully, but even still, him having zone makes him a lot crazier. Last character we're going to be talking about is kind of a curveball, because he's not even out yet, and I'm not recommending summoning for him. I'm just saying that I'm personally going to be summoning for the yellow SSR Yaga, so I have a chance of getting him. And if you plan on summoning for the SSR Yaga, because he is a good character, I couldn't even blame you, then you have a chance of getting him as well. He is a kind of like combo buffer, debuffer. What is he? A debuffer? Yeah. Okay, so skill 1. Deals 120% 0.3 Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. Decreases the selected enemy's Jujutsu damage by 15% for 3 turns. If alternate tuning state is active, changes the skill effect to deals 150.4 Jujutsu damage to selected enemy, so more Jujutsu damage, and increases the selected enemy damage received by 15%. So you can change it from Jujutsu damage received to damage received, which is better because they can be physical or Jujutsu. Tuning, skill 2. Costs him 5 curse energy. Increases on Jujutsu damage by 15% for 3 turns. And activates or deactivates to alternate tuning state. So that's how you flick these skills on and off, right? Or switch them between, back and forth. Skill 3. Deals 180.5 Jujutsu damage to all enemies. Increases all enemies' taijutsu and jujutsu damage received by 36.7% for 4 turns, which is crazy. If alternate tuning state is active, changes the skill effect to deals less jujutsu damage to all enemies, so 150.4, so 30% less. But inflicts a confusion status on all enemies with a 49.4% chance. Stuns all enemies with a 131.8% chance, which is insane. Will always take last action. Let's see. 80% chance at level 1. Once you get it to level 5, it's at 100% chance. Then at level 10, it's 130% chance. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Stun chance right there. His ultimate. Deals 719.7% Jujutsu damage to all enemies and decreases all enemies' damage dealt by 50% for 2 turns. If alternate tuning status is enabled, decreases all or deals 959.4% Jujutsu to all enemies instead, and decreases all enemies' ultimate count by 1. I like the debuff on the non-alternate tuning status more, but I like the damage more on the alternate tuning status. His combo ultimate effect is increases on the combo allies' Jujutsu damage by 15%. And he has no auto skills. But as you can see, he's a crazy, versatile debuffer that you can kind of switch back and forth how you debuff the enemies and kind of like play it by ear how you want to do it. But that is my recommendations for kind of like units you can work on. Now let's go back and look at where I'm at with my green team. Obviously Momo's 5-star. Geto I just got, but I usually just use dupes for limited characters anyway. So after I have a priority list of limited characters that I work on. After I get the dupes in other characters first, Geto will come around as kind of like a later priority. He still is going to be a good debuffer with dupes or not. It would be nice for him to start with the extra curse energy, so maybe I switch up the listing and prioritize him a little earlier. I don't know, especially because this is the first team that I have all of the characters for. Yuji obviously is already kind of like pushed, not to the max, but he has 5 dupes already. In that regard, he is pushed to the max, but there are other things that I can do. Gojo here, still 2 dupes, but when the standard banner update comes out, I do plan to take advantage of that. And even if I do not summon him, which honestly, knock on wood, I don't even have to knock on wood because I am just going to summon. I'm going to summon everything that I need to summon in the standard banner update, I'm pretty sure. but I'm gonna get duplicates for Gojo, whether I summon him or I just have to trade in SSR characters that I already have and buy dupes for him. And then Mahito here, actually the funny thing is, he's one dupe right now because I did not buy a copy of Hanami, and I want to get Mahito to 2 dupes before I get any other Cursed Spirit. And the funny thing is, I'm actually super close to getting him 2 dupes already. Yeah, really close actually. All these formidable enemy events come out, and they actually just make it a lot easier to get to these like kind of like points. So I'm actually really excited to get Mahito to 2-star, and so he starts out with a little bit more cursed energy actually. As of right now, the skill breakup is Momo's skill 2 is level 9, which is her most important skill, of course. This skill is level 8 right now, so only a 78% chance to stun all enemies. And her skill 1 is level 3. Like level 3 is pretty much the base that I get all skills to whenever I get a new character, just to kind of like have him started off. Go ahead and just get that out the way because it's so cheap. Her ultimate is still level 3, so I'll level that one up more over time. I'm not really that worried about it because it's not the, you know, it's not a buff skill. Geto skills are all level 3 right now, and this one is level 6 at the moment because I just got him, and resources are a bit tight. And plus, I want to go ahead and just get this level 10, honestly. Yuji skills are level 8 because I've had to use him for multiple things in multiple different occasions, and his ultimate is level 7 because the ultimate is more expensive by 1 level than the other skills. And what I mean by that is, to get these skills level 8 does not require you any SSR crystals, but to get this skill level 8 does require you an SSR crystal. So the requirement for SSR crystals starts earlier with ultimate skills. Then this Gojo here is all skills level 8 at the moment because as soon as I got him, I was like, okay, he's a really good character. Let me go ahead and just do this. And the same thing with Mahito, all skills level 8. And then the pages that we have on each one of them: perfect synchronization, max level, literally gives 35% damage though increase to all allies for 1 turn. You can only use it on your ultimate though, so I do want to go ahead and get her ultimate leveled up for sure. It recovers 200 ultimate gauge to self whenever the battle starts, so she gets her ultimate pretty fast off of that. The 2 strongest for Geto because his skills actually do hit pretty hard. Triggers upon using ultimate skill, applies 65% curse technique, increases itself for 2 turns. I do really like the fact that it's 2 turns. So in combo with perfect synchronization and this, Geto and Momo should already be doing pretty solid damage on the enemy and debuffing them a pretty solid amount. Then this also applies 20% ultimate gauge refill rate to self for 3 turns when the battle starts. So these 2 just get their ultimate really fast, just really good support pages here. And I don't even remember what banner this dropped on. I don't even remember. Maybe it dropped on Yuta's banner, and I had to go to pity for Yuta, so maybe that's where it dropped. But yeah, luckily enough, I got it in 3 dupes, so I got this part already to, you know, the second stage instead of just the first stage. I do need to go ahead and get it to max level though, and I need to get more frame like dupes so I can get it to 5-star, because that's kind of how I'm like doing pages now. I'm kind of just going in order of, okay, well, what's not 5-star? And all these are 5-star here except for this one. So this is going to be my next priority for 5-star pages. We have like-minded sisters. You already know what that does. This one is kind of like non-standard, but instead it's physical damage instead of jujutsu damage, and it's 85%. Then we have right here, it recovers 200% ultimate gauge whenever you get a critical hit, which is insane because crits are kind of cheesy cheesy on Yuji. I said that a little backwards, I guess. Then we have Gojo right here, you know, or my bad, non-standard right here, 85%. Cursed energy, we just kind of went over this, but the physical version, and this one just gives you 200% ultimate gauge whenever a wave starts instead of getting a crit. Then we have in excellent shape on Mahito because it gives him 360 ultimate gauge for self as soon as he comes in, so you can start building his ultimate up super fast. And also when a wave starts, applies 25% physical technique damage taken decrease for 3 turns. But now we're gonna go ahead and just hop into an event and use them on the hidden inventory stage and just see how they do and see how much damage Yuji and Gojo can do together. Story event, Cherished Youth. I got a few attempts here stacked up on the special, and I'm not speedrunning this. I'm more so just seeing. I'm not speedrunning this. I'm more so just seeing how much damage I'm gonna do with these 2, and I'm gonna put this page. Where is it? I'm gonna put this page on Mahito in the back because Mahito should not have to come out at all. It should just be all these guys in the front doing all of the work. I'm gonna use this. on the first turn just to stack up Momo's cursed energy. I'm going to use this and just take a look at Geto's cursed energy and see if he actually does stack 30 every turn or 20 every turn. Then Yuji, I'm going to go ahead and just start, or maybe no, I'll just do a regular punch with him first. And Gojo, I'll also just do a regular punch with. So let's see. Okay, no, so Geto gets 20 as opposed to getting 10. So it's just 20 curse energy, which is still crazy nonetheless. So we're just gonna do regular attacks one more time. And then I'll start to do my buffs. So we're gonna buff with Momo, and we're gonna start to debuff. Don't want to debuff for cursed energy, or don't want to debuff for... I'll do cursed energy. See how much Gojo does. I want to see how much Gojo does. But I will start buffing up with Yuji as well. I want to see how much Gojo does on his ultimate, I mean. Okay? Jeez. So we're going to buff again. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then maybe... Oh, what? Is that a zone right there? No, okay, there's black flag. I was gonna say, what in the hell? Alright. We're gonna do this, and I'll give Yuji a little help as well. And I'll do this, and then I'll do this with Gojo. I kinda want Momo to have her ultimate, so I'll give it one more turn. Because how long do these debuffs last? For 4 turns. So I'll do this. We'll buff with Yuji one more time. I'll do Composure of the Strong one more time. And then we're good to do everything next turn just to see how much damage we get. Okay? Let's see what we get here, guys. So Momo's not gonna do that much, just whatever. She did 100k. And then Geto does maybe like 300k? 316k. He breaks the enemy though, which his ultimate boosts his break damage, I believe, I read. And plus you have to remember, he's only level 91 actually on my account. So he's not even caught up to in level to all the other characters. Yuji does, ooh. Okay. So Yuji does like 1 mil, I guess. And then Gojo does 3.1. So altogether they do like 4 mil. Plus this damage right here. So they did 4.3 mil all together. So this team, as you can see, is very cohesive. We got pretty good damage. And guys, remember, this man Geto is only level 91. So once he's level 109, his damage is going to look better. 1. 2, his skills are not maxed out. When they're maxed out, the debuffs are going to be better. 3, Momo's buff skill, though it is level 9, is still not level 10, so that can be better. 4, Yuji and Gojo's damage skills are still not level 10, or their skills are just not level 10 in general, so there's still major room for improvement, but this team works exceptionally well, as you guys can see. But I hope this was very insightful for you guys to kind of give you an idea of kind of how you want to start working on teams now and just go ahead and get them cracked now. Because as you can see, the team performed really well, but I still have a lot of work to do, and that's going to take a lot of time because those skill upgrade materials are not friendly to farm. But there's going to be a few DEADMANVINCE. If you like videos like this, then go down below, leave a like, smack the subscribe, and Dark Cloak Dimension / that comment section. Tear it apart and let me know what units you're using, what teams you're using. But that's going to be it. Peace out.